Goodbye.
When you get the phone, hey Dad, it's always cross.
Well, that's a great place to be dropped off.
So right there, my son's fiance's brother's up here. You got some bench up there.
Okay, that's very good. Because as I told you, this is all old. Oh, let's see, I don't have any more here. Maybe I should put my bag down. This bag.
Yeah, I got the bench.
Okay, I hope it is.
Bring at least,
Oh, she's good. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. What they say about more chairs.
they go in again. That's it. And then, yeah, symmetrical.
Yeah, there we go.
I don't think it's going to hit you. Charlie? Bill? Bill might have thought it was still built the house of the house was literally being bad winds. And even though the hurricane was to the south, coming around, so hurricane, this is Florida. Charlie, this is Florida. Charlie's fast. Charlie was fast. Kind of just got a little bit. Because I'm in one day, so you'll be there, of course. So you also live in Brown? Okay, so again, I have Steve Brown is one of my best friends. They have that guy. So I think all three of our birthdays together.
I take a lot less.
Yes, I did. I did it every night.
2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Testing 1, 2.
Let's go ahead and place the casket. Carol, we're going to go ahead. Is there something wrong?
Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask everyone to start making your way to the gravesite? The service is about to begin.
Everyone
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please make your way to the gravesite? There's chairs available.
Diabetes clinics and weight loss clinics and every day.
Ladies and gentlemen, please make your way to the chairs in the gravesite.
I'll be home for dinner.
Oh, hi. I didn't say it. All the speakers should sit right there. Talk for 1 brief second. No. As if you're looking at no way. No way. I wonder what happened to my dad. Oh, did you take the back? There's a bag over there. There's a bag right there. Hello. How are you? I heard you're going in the right direction now. Brought us a blanket.
A little higher, please.
Good. I wore it last night. Sit next to Sherwood, Dad. Yeah, I got you. I got you. There you go. Oh, I thought you said sit up here to do the speech. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. How many are online?
13.
In addition to everyone that's here, there's 13 devices that are online, which means there's probably another 20 people or so joining us. Fred is the 5th White Sox fan that I have buried this month. There must be a reason that the Sox have a bad season or something. I'll make it up. Cynthia, when you turn them. Is that better? So Nancy has certain people that'll be speaking, and Nancy's going to start. Nancy, do you want to stay in your chair? I can bring you the mic.
Well, can people see me if I turn around? I just wanted to say, I think everybody here knows who I am, but I'm Nancy, Shier, Fred's sister. And I wanted to welcome you all to this gathering where we're both mourning Fred and celebrating his life. So the first speaker is Fred's cousin, my dad's niece, Harriet Edelstein.
So first, I wanted to read a very nice note that Loie Schwartz, one of our good friends, wrote to the cousins, and she said I could share with you. And then a note that Carl, her husband, wrote. They were both, of course, very good friends of the Shiers. So she said, "Dear cousins of Freddie, I can imagine the memories flooding you all with the sad news of losing Freddie. Knowing your close cousins' ties, I'm sending you love. Hold this here. With condolences. We all experienced Freddie's sunny nature, happy and excited to get to greet any of us every single time we were in his presence. If we're lucky, our childhood is the smallest fraction of our lives, yet it's the period with the most profound reverberations throughout the rest of our time. And Freddie was part of that. Be well all, love Loie. And then Carl wrote, her husband wrote.
I'm so saddened to hear of my friend Freddie's passing. He was quite an inspiration to me, always happy, giggling, and full of excitement to talk with me, particularly about our favorite White Sox baseball team. One would never know by those fun times what Freddie had to overcome to even be standing there. He's my all-time hero. Rest in peace, my friend, Carl Schwartz.
And then I have a few words to say, if Robin will stay. You know, Fred was 9 months younger than me, so we were pretty good pals. As you have heard, everyone loves smiling, happy Freddie. He always loved being with relatives and really loved a good party. Hershey bars, probably because of our beloved Poppy Shier, who would always have one for us, was one of his favorites. The White Sox, never the Cubs, and the Bears were his life. He knew all the stats from all the games and wanted to talk to his buddies about them, and was always reading the sports section to keep up with the latest. That must be why I was usually ignored when I visited without Gil. He would immediately look up and ask, "Where's Gil? Where's Herb?" Knowing I wouldn't be a good one to share statistics with him. Birth dates were another favorite, reminding all of us whose birthday was coming up with the exact date of birth of whomever was next. And he kept this up until the day he died. I remember the birthday cards he would send through the US mail, something not done by many in these last years of technology. Freddie loved being in Mount Pleasant at the cottage, and a big part of that was always the gathering of family on both the Shier and Landau sides. We all loved that playing with cousins year after year. We were so lucky to have two sets of grandparents, Grandpa and Grandma Landau and Poppy and Grandma Shier. We were all their grandchildren, no matter whom we belonged to. Like Loie says, everyone thought Loie and Susie were family. And as well, Carl and Marion's dear friends on the subdivision, Max and Rosie Weinrib, Mac and Libby Brandon, Ben and Shelley Sosowitz, and earlier days, because he died young, Philly Axelrod. Freddie never drove, so in his job as a messenger, he rode public transportation, carrying large parcels from company to company by hand. His two jobs spanned over 40 years. The second job was given to him through Benny Sosowitz, who, like all of Carl and Marion's friends, would do whatever they could to contribute in many ways to help Marion and Carl provide the best quality of life for Fred and, of course, Nancy. Freddie met his beloved wife, Cookie, through a social group at the JCC, and his best friend, Jerry, also he met through a bowling league, right? Jerry is here today, and Jerry is his friend to this day, and was happily married to Cookie for 51 years. They lived independently until the later years when their health failed, and Ving, a wonderful, devoted live-in caregiver, was hired. She was with them until 2018 when they both moved into Lieberman. Once at Lieberman, Nancy hired Mia, who's here today, to visit with them and oversee their care. Mia remains Fred's caring and compassionate friend who was a great help to Nancy as she dealt with the responsibilities of their care.
I'm sure Freddie would tell us he had a great life, no complaints. And as Carl Schwartz said, one would not know of the challenges he faced growing up. Rest in peace, dear cousin, you will be missed.
And I have a picture Lois sent by computer I'll pass around. It's of all of the youngsters on the beach. It's hard to see. If you want it, I can send you the picture on your email, but this is something to just look at.
Hello, everyone. I'm Linda Meyer, Fred's first cousin on our mother's side. And before I share my remarks, we're going to wish Freddie off with a rousing round of Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and cracker jacks. I don't care if I never get back, 'cause it's root, root, root for the White Sox. If they don't win, it's a shame. Oh, it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Hey, let me hear you now.
My cousin Fred was surely one of the most unique and unforgettable people in my life. Yes, he walked and talked differently from most of us. Even when I was a young child, that was apparent. But Fred was one of us, one of our tribe, and we loved him. That was one of the gifts that Fred gave to us cousins. It's okay to be different. Fred had to overcome many challenges. He was born with cerebral palsy, which affected his speech and physical development. At age 9, he contracted polio. This was before the miracle of the Salk vaccine. All of us children who were in Mount Pleasant during that time remember the gripping fear of the adults, fear for Fred, and fear that the other kids would succumb to it too. He was in an iron lung for several weeks, a terrifying image to me as a child. I was only 4, and I can't imagine what it was like for Freddie. But in later life, I don't recall him ever expressing anger or resentment about the things he couldn't do as well as his peers. That was another gift he shared with us. Just get on with it. This was many years before the passage of the landmark Americans with Disability Acts, which mandated that all students have a right to a public education that meets their individual needs. Marion fought to keep Fred enrolled in the Chicago Public Schools and hired tutors and occupational and speech therapists to work with Fred to help him learn, keep up with his class, and graduate from high school. Our family was particularly close to the Shiers. They lived in the same building as our grandparents when I was young, and we went there every week for dinner. My sister Carol and Fred were just 6 months apart and were playmates from infancy. In almost every baby picture, they were together and continued to share a deep fondness that can only be forged in the close cocoon of childhood play. As we all know, Fred was sharp in many ways. Among the Mount Pleasant gang, he was a mean opponent at cards and in board games. He had, as Harriet mentioned, an astonishing memory for all kinds of information, any baseball or football stat, as well as every birthday, not only of family and friends, but presidents and celebrities, you name it. Now that he's gone, who do we call when we need a date or a fast fact? Whenever I would visit, he would test my knowledge. When I didn't know the answer to his obscure question, he chortled with glee when he told me the correct answer. The family supported Fred to live a full and independent life. After high school, Marion worked with Jewish Vocational Services to find a job for Fred. He was employed as a courier for A.G. Becker and later O'Hare Associates, carrying papers and blueprints to offices all over downtown Chicago. He knew all the streets and trains and buses. He loved his work and made many lifelong friends. We never thought that Fred would be able to marry, but in his 20s, Fred met the love of his life, Cookie. Remarkably, they married in 1971 and moved into their own apartment. They both loved having a good time and went to theater, concerts, trips, and parties. They truly complemented each other. Freddie loved Cookie's family, and Cookie endeared herself to all of us. She always asked about my work and delighted in giving and receiving little gifts and cards. Fred was very proud to be a husband. In one of my visits after Cookie died, he told me that she was a very good wife and explained how well suited they were due to their compatible Chinese zodiac signs. In addition to Cookie, Fred had other passions. As we've mentioned, he was a rabid sports fan, especially for the Chicago Bears and the White Sox. But he was also very compassionate for family members who supported other teams and would root for the New England Patriots on behalf of me and cousin Barbara's husband, Bert. He also liked gambling on sports and lottery tickets, and he did win quite often. He seemed lucky in that way. I remember many times in Michigan that Fred would sort of clean up at the subdivision picnic raffles, winning all sorts of prizes and at bingo games. One of Fred's less endearing qualities was his stubborn resistance to change. He was a great lover of music and had a big record collection, but CDs were taking over the industry. A family member, we think it might have been my sister Carol, gave him a lovely new stereo system with a CD changer. Despite our best efforts, I remember Carol and I went over to his apartment, showed him how to use it, tried to convince him it would be so easy, all for naught. Fred stuck with his vinyl way before it became cool to do so. Fred cared deeply about all his family and friends. He always asked about everyone, even my dog. He often wrote poems and speeches for family birthdays and anniversaries. He looked forward to seders and family dinners and celebrations. Like his dad, he was not a soft-spoken person. He expressed his love and affection loudly and unmistakably. He probably didn't realize what a big part of our lives he was, and we will miss our dear Freddie. In a minute, I'm going to sing a song, and while I'm singing, please take a moment to think about if there's anything that you would like to add to our remarks today, any stories or recollections about Freddie that you'd like to share. This is a song based on a poem by the Israeli poet Hannah Senesh, put to music by Cantor Jeff Klepper. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. but the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us as we live our days. These are the ways we remember, as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. יש כוכבים שהרם מגיע ארצה, רק כאשר הם עצמם עבדו ואינם. יש אנשים שז'יב זמרם מאיר, כאשר הם עצמם אינם עוד בתוכנו. אורות אלה המבהיקים בחשכת הליל, הם שמראים לאדם את הדרך, הם שמראים לאדם את הדרך, as we live our days. These are the ways we remember, as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. Would anybody else like to share a memory of Fred? Come on up.
I'm Gary Pines, Mount Pleasant subdivision, friend of Freddie's, and was in the group with Carl Schwartz and Freddie and others the same era. And yes, it was always wonderful to interact with Fred. His smile, his laughter, and his knowledge of statistics that we would share with each other. So I'll just do one thing of a memory. And any of you can go back to the 1950s, and especially the middle 1950s, the Go White Sox, huh? Let's hear it for them. And who were our favorite players? And Fred would love to talk about Minnie Minoso, Nellie Fox, Louis Aparicio. And we'd have fun talking about them. Yes, and in 1959, they had a real good year. But what happened was the White Sox didn't ever win a World Series, but Freddie and I and the others could always talk about it. And my memories of Freddie was always his smile, his laughter, his knowledge. And we only wish he could have done more with us as a group on Mount Pleasant subdivision. So Fred, go White Sox.
Anyone else? Yeah.
I'm Robin Beister, daughter of Harriet, cousins with everybody. One year, Josh and I got to drive Freddie to the cottage, and we didn't need a radio because he kept us entertained with all his quizzing. And luckily, I knew some of the music questions he asked me because of Nancy and driving with her all my life to Michigan. But one of the cutest things he said that Josh and I still say, it's our favorite quote, he said, "Nancy told me to bring money and I did."
Hi, I'm Mia, a caregiver and friend of the family for a long time. I would just like to say that he reminded me every time I saw him that I should feel honored and privileged that I had the same birthday as Teddy Roosevelt, and I'm gonna really miss that. Among other little things that he always said to me, which I thought were adorable. So I'm really gonna miss that. It was just an honor and a privilege to take care of him. He was my best friend, and I'm really gonna miss him. He was something else. They don't make them like that anymore. Thank you.
We love you.
You were born October 27th, 1858.
Anyone else?
1858. Over here.
Oh, Jerry? Go around. I don't want you to fall. Okay, hold on. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Fred's friend Jerry Packer, and as Harriet mentioned earlier, we met originally at a bowling league in 1967, and then later I hadn't seen Fred or Cookie for a number of years. I had met Cookie in the bowling league also, and then I happened to be sitting in a restaurant one day, and at the next table over, I happened to hear some familiar voices, and I'm thinking in my mind, that's Fred and Cookie. So I stand up and I say, Fred and Cookie, and it took them a while. He says, who are you? You know, it took them a while to catch up, but I finally told him, yeah. So since then, you know, he and I were more or less friends. Now, they had belonged to a social group through the YWCA in Evanston. Now, this lady named Elaine Macejack, who was born in 1931, and in 1961, at the age of 30, started this social group. At least I thought she started it. I found out a little bit later that wasn't exactly how it worked out, but basically she started a social group for mentally disabled people, and she started with a group of girls. I think it was 11 high school girls, if I remember right, and later boys were added, and it just kind of grew. It eventually became called the New Year Co-eds, and originally they just used to kind of meet on Friday evenings and then later on Saturday evenings, and they just create ways to entertain themselves. I don't know exactly. Elaine remembers that at least one time they had a treasure hunt. She can't remember most of the other things they did, but I would imagine that people probably had some input into what they wanted to do, and Elaine probably had some input into what they did. But that went on for anywhere from maybe 15 to 25 years, and then they found some people that were willing to be like sponsors for the group and underwrite them. So there was a good deal of money coming in, so they were able to start taking field trips and go on a wide variety of field trips and go to different places. And in 2007, when the group was still going on, you know, still going on and on and on, Fred and Cookie talked Elaine into allowing me to join the group. So we basically had a group. We had independent people like Fred and Cookie, and then we had people that were living in two different assisted living facilities. And then we had Elaine, and basically Elaine was the group leader, and then there were guardians who were staff members at the assisted living places. And then there was all the disabled people, and then there was the one oddball, me. And you know, so that went on, and then eventually this lady Elaine decided she was into her 90s already and didn't want to do it anymore, and it looked like the group was going to fall apart, so I took over the group, so I'm running it now. But little plug for myself. Anyway, but anyway, Fred, was quite a guy. We always got along very well, and there's two words, they're not in English, but two words that are more or less very similar. And as somebody explained it to me, the one word would represent somebody that, like a waiter that's carrying a big tray full of soup and strips and falls and all the soup is falling over. And the second word would represent the person that the soup spills on. So it's two different kinds of bad luck. And during the course of my early life, I was kind of the recipient of both of those kinds of bad luck. So I wound up being passed along from job to job and being underemployed or unemployed all the time. So Fred and Cookie both, they had their steady employment. They had, Fred was working as a messenger, and Cookie also had steady employment, was working for, I believe it was an eyeglass company, if I remember right. I'm not sure. Rotophoto. Okay, that's right, that's what it was. So anyway, so they had actually wound up with, in their later life, more income than me. So Fred, realizing that I was, like the poor cousin, so to speak, he took pity on me, and he was always very generous and was able, put up money for me. So even in Elaine's social group, like Elaine used to charge a token fee, as I still do for people, and he used to put up the fee for me, or we'd go to movies together and he'd pay for the, movie or whatever, so he was always, very much generous to me like that. And I don't know, we just kind of had good times. It was fun. So I suppose there's more I could add. I can't think of anything right now. So
if there's for those of you who have not attended a Jewish funeral, in the program, you'll see that there is, before we do that, in the program, I forgot about this. We're going to together say the traditional prayer that is said at Jewish funerals, the 23rd Psalm, which is in your program in English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And now I'm going to chant the traditional prayer, El Malay Rachamim, to pray that Fred's soul will be bound up under the sheltering wings of the presence that shelters us all, and bound up in the bonds of life.
If you're able to, please rise.
ימים שוכן במרמים המצאים נוכנה תחם פי השכינה עם קדושים וטהרים כזוהר הקיע מזהירים ונשמות יקירנו שהלכו לעולמם יסתירים בסתר כנפיו עולמים ויצרור יצריים את נשמתם אדוני הוא נתם וינוחו בשלום על משכבם ונאמר
You're not going to do the English?
What's that?
You're not going to do the English?
I wasn't.
You can be seated now.
rise one more time, and we're going to do the cottage now, and then afterwards, as you're leaving, you can put 3 shovelfuls of earth into the grave. Don't pass the shovel, lay it back down when you're done, so that everyone can do the mitzvah completely on their own.
I don't know if Fred knew that the White Sox lost 120 games, but I'm sure it would not have made one bit of difference. Yit Gadal v'Yit Gadash Me Rabba v'Alma Divrach Yuate v'Amlit Malchute v'Chayechon v'Yomechon v'Chayei L'chol Beit Yisrael v'Aglav Izman Kori v'Imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarak Me'olam Amei Amaya Yit Barak v'Yishtabak v'Yit Ba'ar v'Yit Roman v'Yit Naseh v'Yit Adar v'Yit Alev v'Yit Allah Shmei L'Kudusha B'Rechu Leila Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata Tushbachata V'Nechamata Damiran B'Elma V'Imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chayim Oleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Romav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Imru Amen.
Again, as you're leaving, please put 3 shovelfuls of earth into the grave if you wish to do so. It's considered a mitzvah. And also the families going back. Nancy's residence at 4250 Marine Drive. She'll be receiving people in the hospitality room until 4. Thank you all for coming. The people that are online, thank you for your attendance.